You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.
Soccer is electric. So how'd you fit in soccer and a movie? You could watch it. You could take people to go and see a movie. Your community development. Futsal, 303. Community development is prime in the grassroots with a can-do attitude. Today on Sporting Denver, we welcome somebody who is prime in the community here in Denver, Colorado, with that grassroots program. He is Mr. Electric. We're going to go to the boiling point. Bob Boyle, please welcome to Sporting Denver. And thanks for joining us, mate. It is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you, Richie? Thanks for the invite and some kind, generous words there. I've got something to live up to here today. So, Mr. Electric, yeah, that's well done with the words there.
Yeah, I just made it up, Bob. You know, nothing to do with research. So there we go. So we're going to go. I've put the kettle on, mate. We're going to go straight to boiling point, if you pardon the pun.
Oh man, let's rip it up. Yep.
You know, I'm going to stop there, mate. I'll come straight in with electric soccer. Electric. Do you want to explain to our viewers the process of that? What is it? What does it do? When did it start? And all of the above, Bob.
Yeah, it's so when did it start? I mean, of course, with your audience, I'd be preaching to the choir to talk about love for the game and everything. You go back to childhood and my own experiences. But as far as the way we're set up here, the mission of Soccer Electric's simple and about as generic as you get. It's to grow and improve access to soccer. And, you know, for me personally, it's you know, I'm oftentimes aware that the photo, I don't know if your viewers can see the photos there, but, you know, over the years, you find yourself, if you're a player growing up, you're a coach in this country or anywhere for that matter, I'm sure you find yourself wearing many hats. And that's something that occurred to me, you know, I was younger, I was always a player, right? And then all of a sudden you're coaching at camps as a teenager and, you know, getting value out of that, and having a lot of fun with that, get paid for that. And then over time, you know, I was fortunate to be able to coach my kids and other kids here in the Park Hill neighborhood in Denver where we live. And then there were opportunities to sit on soccer boards, to coach more, to take coach training, get certifications, all of the above. And you realize, you start to see, even right here in my neighborhood, you just see all the opportunity for the game to have an impact in many, many, many ways. And so that's really the genesis is, I mean, I would even go back to America Scores Denver, for those of you that are familiar with their mission. As a board member there, that was a real eye opener. My good friend Brandon Blue was the executive director there. And, you know, I saw how soccer was paired up with, in the classroom after school with, you know, 2 days of soccer and in an underserved school, and then 2 days of writing and poetry. And the thing that blew me away there is I got involved there as a coach initially, and then later as a board member. But then going out to the schools and seeing the English and the poetry piece on that was just mind blowing, because these kids were so into it. You know, they all love the soccer, but now they're in the classroom 2 days a week, and they're having to figure out how to express themselves, how to write poetry. And then the big move was when you'd see a kid get up in front of the class and essentially a competition that was essentially hip hop, right? So the kids were now having to get up in front of their classmates and recite their poems, their writing, and they were really into it, you know. And you'd see this transformation happen, even more so than I would see on the soccer field. And this thing would just happen where these kids, then they called them poetry slams, and they'd get then into a coffee house in Denver, and all their friends and family would come out, their coaches would come out, and everybody'd be there. It's a big audience, and the kids would just rip it up with their performances, and they're competing to go to Washington, D.C. for a national tournament. So, I've given a big salute and shout out to America's Scores, and really a thank you, because along the way we started using events and tournaments as fundraisers for those programs, and
Sure.
as ways to reach out to sponsors and attract investment to support the mission. So Soccer Electric's really in many ways an outgrowth of those experiences, and we just had to put something around it. As we got talking to folks that were interested in soccer, they would just ask, hey, great, Bob, Brandon, Peter, friends and coaches who wanted to organize soccer. We found it was helpful to put an identity around it, to be able to kind of encapsulate what we do, build a mission into it, and do more of it.
So the foundation's the start of that. Was your first approach, obviously it's community and development, was your first approach into the schools, Bob?
Yeah, so I as a parent in the Park Hill neighborhood, we wanted to get involved in fundraising at the school at Park Hill Elementary, which is an example of a school that when my son started there as a kindergartner, and they were a K-8 school at the time, and they were the neighborhood dynamics were changing significantly, and so as many of your viewers know, free and reduced lunch percentage is one of the things you use to determine the needs of the school, the financial needs and resource needs of the school, or lack thereof. Lack of resources. And so, that school in particular was moving quickly as the neighborhood was changing. But there was always opportunities and questions around how do we, do fundraising creatively at the school. And that soccer was one obvious vehicle for us. We were over there all the time. There was a lot of interest in soccer, largely because a lot of the kids at that school, and now more than, I think there's a couple hundred plus kids that are playing in local clubs here. But it was just an easy way, really. I mean, frankly, it was set up an after school program,
Sure.
do a certain percentage of scholarships, but there were increasingly enough families who could pay for those programs, and we could pay a professional coach to come out and run those programs and organize those programs, and then get a nice fundraiser out of it. So we've kind of built the programs we do, but they're always customized based on what the school wants. So we'll engage a principal and we'll start talking soccer, and he or she may or may not have soccer background.
I like the idea, obviously soccer. I like the idea that you've paired it with something, and the poetry in motion. That is a masterstroke. I love that. I know one of your programs is soccer and a movie. I'm coming to the next one, mate. Depends what the movie is, because I'm no good at soccer, mate. I just bring the quality down. Can you give us a run through on soccer and a movie, mate? I love it.
We were running our first camp in 2014. It was our first Soccer Electric summer camp. We organized it over at City Park. We had some good friends that were on staff over at the Denver Film Society. So the dynamics there were irresistible, because if you've got, this is about less than a mile from our house, and you've got East High School, you've got their stadium, you've got City Park, you've got all this access to just incredible world-class resources there. And then you've got the school, you've got, top high school girls and boys programs there. And then you've got the film center. The C Film Center is right across the street. So
Brilliant.
It was a no-brainer. And, film guys happen to have soccer guys on staff. And in fact, my good friend John Forget was the GM over at Three Lions Pub, and had a daughter who was in our first camp. He was all over it. In fact, he moved ahead with the film center and organized a long weekend of soccer films, so a soccer film festival and fundraiser
Wonderful.
for America Scores Denver. And that was, and we've just kept that going. Unfortunately, this year, of course, we had to cancel, but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be back full force next year. The movies, think about the kids are playing. It's hot in June, right? So the 2.5 hours of soccer, and now we've moved the soccer piece from City Park over to East to the stadium. And Coach Ryan Short and Kirk Bast over there, and the athletic director and the principal have been incredibly supportive. So that's a fundraiser for the soccer programs over there as well.
I'm going to promote that because I'm ruthless on promoting anyway, certainly for good causes like yours, Bob. So, pretty much any school with a, bit of a facility, and not just necessarily, soccer and a movie, but we've got the poetry and we've got other programs. If they want to get involved and, in their certain districts, they can contact you, right? And you can give them the information on and help get it set up, Bob.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we would, you look around and see what resources you have around a stadium, for example, around a school grounds or a park, and then you build it from there. I mean, it may or may not be a film center, right? I mean, that was a lucky break that there's the kids go into an air conditioned theater in the afternoon after playing soccer in the morning.
Brilliant.
But you look around and you start thinking about what's a 2 hour, how do we use a 2 hour block in the afternoon? What's nearby? Where can we walk there?
All the schools out there, I know most of you anyway, you've got an auditorium that can seat a couple hundred people and we can get a movie going, right? So, it's an option. Yeah. It's on site and away you go. So, and if there's a local restaurant out there as well that wants to check out with Bob, I can't name any because we're not allowed to do that, but delivery, all the food, bring it into Bob, let him know where you need all the food delivered. So I'm swinging it for you there, Bob. No commission.
Yes, sir.
Okay, mate. No problem.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. The program's brilliant. The program's brilliant. 303 Futsal. That's another one. Tell me about that, mate.
Yeah, that's a pet project in many ways because it's now it's where it's this unique aspect of the game, and it's a subset of the big game, right? And it's futsal on a hard court, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's just I played as a kid growing up and was fortunate to have played futsal growing up on a hard court out of necessity many times. But we also had people around who knew the game, and we're always setting up futsal games, believe it or not, in Michigan in the 80s. I don't know that we always called it futsal, but it was oftentimes on a hard surface in a gym. And as my own kids and my friends' kids and teammates and their parents started talking about this, we started looking into it. And DPS was great about gym time, and kids are just looking for a way to knock the ball around in the wintertime that was sort of a break from soccer, but complementary to the big game at the same time. And then there's several hotbeds around the country that are organizing regional and national tournaments. We partner with Futsal Colorado. Mario Bazzina is a good friend.
Sure.
He's been phenomenal about organizing the league here. And then there's a progression from there into regional and national tournaments. And there was just a lot of interest here locally, and continues to be. So we just had some fun with branding it, as a local sort of futsal club. And that's typically going to be kids that are more on an elite player track, but it's a nice fit with street soccer and grassroots soccer. It's a nice progression from the street game, from the grassroots game into futsal, and it's got really nice parallels to basketball.
And it's pretty simple to set up, right? The crew turn up with a set of goals, and it could be a tennis court, right, Bob? You could utilize most facilities that are available to you. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We learned from you guys, right? You call it five-a-side over in England, right? It's you play wherever you can. You may or may not have all the right gear, right? But if you've got a ball and a space, hard court, grass, dirt, mud, whatever, tennis courts are great. I worry about the post for the nets. We got to figure that. We got to solve that problem, right? Get the fold down posts so that you can really clear out a tennis court and play some futsal.
I've got a truck, mate. So let me know where you are next. I'll just we'll put them back when we're done, though, mate. So I'll be all over that. That's fantastic.
How about midnight Saturday?
Yeah, I'm down. Give us a call. You got my number, Bob. Anyway, hey, three futsal. I get. What's the 303 connection on the futsal, mate?
Oh, so that's the area code. I mean, that's the original Denver area code.
Ah, brilliant. So I'm no
So
good. I'm a 7-2-0, mate. So I'm eliminated from that,
there's
right?
an idea for a new futsal club right there.
There you go. There you go. I'll pass that on to Spielberg. You know who he is. He sorts it
Gotcha.
out.
Yeah.
Soccer, involved in kids. You're a kid. How did you get involved yourself to start with, mate? Playing, Bob.
Uh, my dad was an organizer. He wasn't a player himself. I came home one day and announced that he had played soccer for one season at a boarding school in Canada, and he played hockey there as well. And he had a couple friends in college. He went to Michigan State, where I grew up. I grew up right on the edge of campus, so there was a huge international community there, and Dad just he loved the game to this day. I mean, he's a big fan and supporter of ours. I've got three siblings, and he started up a small club in Dimondale, Michigan, and then he sort of stepped away. You know, it was kind of interesting. The game kind of took it from there, and he brought in a couple of good friends, a Brazilian guy who coached one of our first teams, and it was just infectious from there. I mean, we played everything and a lot of backyard sandlot football and basketball and baseball as well, but soccer was right in the mix. And then we were just fortunate to be in a community where, Michigan State had some good, strong college D1 programs in the 60s. They were recruiting out of St. Louis at the time. And a lot of those, several of my best coaches as a kid stayed put. They didn't go back to St. Louis. They stayed in Michigan, in East Lansing, and their kids were my age, and they organized and coached teams. So not only from a club perspective, but from just access to the university, there was always a group of international students, grad students, staff, faculty that were playing soccer somewhere in the neighborhood, literally. So there was just a ton of opportunity. And then I had a high school coach, the late Dr. John Piccone, was phenomenal. And all these influences, right? We all have them, right? They're all incredible. You look back and you're like, wow, I hope I didn't take that for granted, but they made things happen. They organized and they inspired us to play.
I think sometimes it bypasses you as well. You do get influenced, and right there's that immediate impact. And then as the years roll by, things come back at you, and they click in. I think, yeah, okay, and you introduce that. So, what position did you play? You may have moved around, but what position did you play initially, Bob?
Oh, I was a striker. Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I volunteered myself as a sweeper at one point and changed my mind quickly during a training session in college. Coach said, "Hey, yeah, let's try you at sweeper." And then I was in practice, and this back in the day when I don't know how many, depending on your age, sweeper dates you a bit, right? But
go on.
This is late 80s, early 90s, and in a practice one day we were working, the defenders were working on clearing head balls, and on the other end of the pitch was all the strikers and midfielders having target practice. Just that contrast of what have I done here, right?
Yeah.
All due respect for defenders, love them, love goalies, love defenders, but it was a moment in training where I was like, I don't know, I like shooting the ball on goal. I like your odds as a striker too, right? I mean, you're doing pretty good if you're 1 for 10,
Okay, that'll do. Yeah. So, coach, move me up the field, mate, please. I'll work hard up there. So, were you a prolific goal scorer, mate? Did you get your worth of goals on your teams?
I held my own. I was more of a target player, and I think a reliable. Like in a 4-4-2, I played with some guys who were phenomenal, who were really our aces in the hole. And I just loved that. Like a guy, college teammate and several high school teammates were phenomenal at actually. When you say prolific, other guys come to mind. I scored goals and when it was necessary, but I enjoyed working hard and attacking defensively, if that makes sense, right? And watching to pick your favorite club. I won't go there right now, but that's what I look for in a club these days is where are the strikers playing defensively? Like they're attacking while they're defending. That was for me, that's the way you make things happen, I think, as a striker.
So you did that before all the big guns right now. You did that I'm going to say several years ago, Bob, anyway. So you were doing that way back when, mate. So it's just old news now what they're doing, right?
Sure. I think it's decades. I think we use the term decades now. I think I can say
several
decades
years
ago.
Mate.
Yeah.
Several years. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. And obviously, you're welcome. Progressing. You're involved in the adult scene here in Colorado as well, Bob. So what's that look like? What's your involvement there, Bob?
Yeah. So a few years ago, we had some interaction with FC Denver, among other clubs, but they've been around for a while now. They're 13, 14 years in. And I just always had a positive interaction with them. Their founder and president, Eric Fulton, was always, very responsive, always had creative ideas going on. It was always clear they had a passion for the game and essentially a soccer fraternity here in town. So we just kept in touch, and we had an opportunity come up to help them organize a U19 team back in 2018. And it just frankly had a lot of fun with it. A good friend of mine and local coach, Peter Bunting, was available and interested to jump in and coach and serve as a head coach there, and is still involved. He's coaching their premier team now. And I just kind of, look for opportunities to help them. There's a good shot of Peter right there. And we took the group of boys to Santa Barbara for the College Cup back in fall of 2018. And gosh, you just see though all the variables and moving parts and organizing one team, let alone a full club, right? So if you go through something like that with the team, organizing a team from scratch, trying to travel, trying to do budgets, trying to support kids that can't afford to play, but they're very good players and maybe haven't had the same opportunities as other kids to get exposure. I mean, there's a bunch of kids in that group there. That's in Dallas at the FC Dallas Cup in early 2019, and another good shot there. So FC Denver I think they're doing some exciting things right now. They serve a vital niche in the city here and for urban soccer, and they're very active in the community. They support all of our Soccer Electric and 303 futsal activities, and we're able to do some fundraising for them as well. They're a 501c3, and they're ambitious. They've got a great culture, and it's really a local soccer fraternity. And I really hit it off with a lot of those guys early on. So it's gonna be fun to see where they go next.
And I know Coach Peter Bunting, big shout out to you, Pete, not only involved in the grassroots heavily, but that taking that. Did he instigate the under-19 group to break that middle ground, Bob? Tell me if I'm wrong.
So help me understand your question. To break the middle ground from the transition from high school to college or post high school, or?
Sort of, coming through that high school age group and going into college, somewhere for those players that have somewhere to play, and promoting them to your first team with FC Denver. That sort of middle ground, like adult development program, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. I here again, across the pond, there's great reference, right? That that the progression is there regardless of, age. You've got a place to go, multiple divisions. We see all of this happening here in this country. We've seen it for the last 40 years, and it seems to be ramping up and accelerating here. And that's part of the driver is, we do see some fallout where kids think they're done playing, for whatever reason. They think it's all over now, and because they're not going to play college ball necessarily, or if they are going to play college ball, it's not clear, which club to call home for whatever reason. They've got work schedules or financial challenges or whatever. So that's partly the driver here, is there's a niche there for players who maybe live in the city or around the city and want to keep playing at a high level, get a shot at progressing up through the ranks. I mean, FC Denver is a great example of a club that, a U19, a U23, a B team, an A team. So sort of a tiered structure there. It's relatively low cost. It's a great soccer community, and they're competitive. It's a competitive environment. It's a way for a kid who's 17, 18, 19 to to stick with it. And there are many great options in the city for that, in and around the city. So this is just another one that maybe serves a slightly different demographic.
Yeah, speaking with Jose Chavez of the Chavez of the Colorado Soccer Magazine a few weeks back, I think that middle ground is growing now, Bob, over the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years. And I know there's several good entities, good organisations out there. Have you seen that growth personally?
Yeah, personally, directly, firsthand. Yeah, I mean, I even flash back to when I was 17, 18, 19, and very limited options. I mean. I had a sort of a gap year or a year and a half where there wasn't a really good option, and now I think that's all changing right in front of us, right? Especially in areas where you have more density. I mean, Denver's a major metro, so there's good density here, but it's not East Coast, it's not LA.
Sure.
I think what FC Denver's doing is a need. It's a resource for players that are looking for a place to play and play at a high level still.
And any players out there, get hold of Bob, get hold of Pete Bunting, the coach, and get involved.
Yeah.
Can-do attitude. It's my last question before the quick fire 5, Bob. Can-do attitude. Explain to me. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. There's just so many variables, right? I mean, always, regardless of where you're at in the game, if you're running a DA program, top level program, or top franchise, but even in the communities, there's many other unexpected variables that come up all the time, and you might think it's a money factor, and then you find out it's a risk management factor, or it's a transportation factor, and you just have to be ready to do whatever it takes. Coaches understand that, right? How many coaches have stories of running a team in a club and finding out that you're the chief executive for that team? You're setting up goals, breaking down goals, you're contacting parents, you're recruiting help and volunteers, and that's really it. I've learned as a coach over the years that you just never know what's going to come up, or always have issues with kids and emotional stuff and things they're dealing with off the pitch, and be ready and know your limits. Know that there are some things that you can be a link or a conduit to other resources in the community, and just be ready, have those relationships ready in the community when they're needed, because they'll be needed.
Well, soccer is electric. You're part of it here with your staff. Soccer in a movie. Put my name down for the next one. I might do the movie. I'll probably watch the soccer, Bob. And
okay.
My poetry is no good, but I can hang out with it. That's not a problem. Thank you for doing what you do for those kids and that grassroots level, and also breaking it right through to the adult, that middle ground, as we spoke about, for those youngsters looking for a place to play and continue their career. So that's my hat trick of thank yous. I'm going to ask you the quick fire 5 questions, Bob. You don't know what's coming, which is brilliant. And after the last question, if you would like to leave our viewers a message out there, that'd be greatly appreciated, Bob. Once again, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Who's your favourite player, male and female, currently?
Currently playing, let's see here. Male player currently playing would have to be Salah. And the female player playing, he's doing all right. Yeah, he's doing all right.
He's okay. Yeah.
My favorite female player is Hammy, your guest from last week.
What a good kid. Fantastic player.
I'm biased to local talent, so I'm gonna go with that one.
We'll have to get her involved in Soccer Electric, mate. Let's get it.
That'd be fantastic.
Get it ramped up. Then I can go away, because that wouldn't attract anyone. So, growing up, Bob, a player, any player stand out for you growing up, male or female or both?
Gary Lineker. Yeah. Big striker, solid, reliable. Ian Rush.
Yeah.
I could go on and on, but yeah, I'll go there.
In Russia, he was named the best defender in the world, and he was a centre forward. That's what you were talking about. So were you Ian Rush-esque?
I idolized the guy, so I thought the mustache was kind of funny at first. It was like, what's with the mustache? But I got over that, and I saw, like, look at what he's up to defensively.
Yeah.
Like he's a nightmare.
Oh yeah, and scores goals.
Why doesn't every striker want like that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Growing up, and has it changed? Who's your favourite team? Did you have one growing up? Is it the same team now in adult life?
Growing up, it would have been, we didn't have a lot of access growing up. I mean, my first true access to soccer live was the '86 World Cup, honestly. I mean, otherwise I was watching Kevin Keegan striker videos. I mean, I'd get the highlight reels of mostly Liverpool, some Man U, but I think, Liverpool, for whatever reason, somehow where I lived in Michigan, Liverpool got through more than anybody else. So I would say it was Liverpool.
Yeah, they're the top club now, and back in those several years ago, they were pretty much unbeatable. What's your favourite food, Bob?
Let's see here. Let's go with chili.
Okay.
Cincinnati chili.
So what's that? Cincinnati. What's the difference, mate?
It's got a kind of a spicy, if you're from that area, there's a Gold Star versus Skyline battle, right? You're either one or the other there. And it's got kind of a cinnamony, almost like funky. Okay. Don't ask what's in it, but it's good. It's
I'll investigate that one, mate. I've got a friend in Cincy anyway, so I'll check him out.
Okay.
Last question, then you can leave all our viewers a message. Do you prefer the standard black and white boot, or do you prefer all these magnificent colours?
I prefer the old school Copa.
If you leave us with a message, Bob, thank you for your time. Appreciated, mate.
Okay, all you need is a ball. Let's just leave it at that for now. And I thank you very much, Richard, and your viewers for the opportunity to chat here a bit. Love what you guys are doing, so thank you. And for that matter, everybody here in the Colorado and Denver soccer community. It's just a rich, awesome soccer community here. So let's keep it going. Thank you.